It's a Think Tank Tuesday here on the morning show, and man, oh man, what a great show it's been so far. Moving from all things entertainment, and now we're tackling pressing issues that affects thousands of students and employees in the education sector. You might remember the recent news of the deregistration of Damelin, licensed colleges and city varsity by the Department of Higher Education. This has now left many of students and many people actually in a state of uncertainty. Joining us to discuss the implications of this decision and offer guidance to the affected individuals is Ari Katz, CEO of Boston City Campus, joining us back again here on the morning show. Ari, welcome back to the morning show. It's good to have you.
Morning, thank you for having me, Kosi.
I think this is a very pressing issue. I think a lot of people have been finding themselves uncertain as to what the future looks like. So maybe let's start off with a general overview of the recent deregistration of a number of colleges and its impact on students and employees alike.
So approximately a month ago, the Minister of Higher Education announced that due to various compliance failures, the Minister had cancelled the registration of certain educational institutions such as Damelin, Asiza, Lyceum, City Varsity. Now, in terms of the current state of play between Educor and the department, clearly I'm not in a position to comment on that, as firstly I wouldn't be privy to such information, and secondly I wouldn't want to comment on another institution. However, having said that, it is important to take cognizance of the fact that South Africa has a very positive and robust regulatory framework within which the higher education sector is regulated, and of course that should provide serious comfort to students who are currently studying at higher education institutions.
Yeah, maybe you can help us understand, especially relating to those requirements, those regulations that need to be kept to. What are these particular compliance standards that tertiary institutions need to adhere to?
So all higher education institutions receive accreditation for their programs from the HEQC, which is the Council for Higher Education. In addition to that, the institution needs to register with the Department of Higher Education. Now, the accreditation covers every aspect from viability to governance to functioning of the institutions, both from prior to accreditation and, of course, maintaining accreditation. And there are many levels of reporting, both in terms of self-reporting as well as external reporting, each of which covers aspects of the institution and, of course, its functioning. Now, these processes and these audits talk to capacity of the institution at every level, from financial criteria to ensure viability, to capacity of the institution, to quality assurance processes relating to teaching and learning, qualifications of the faculty members, student performance criteria, occupational health and safety requirements, etc. And all of this is both in terms of external reporting, because each of the institutions have to report to the department, both its financial statements as well as its annual report, where it reports all these quality assurance criteria. Now, in addition to that, a number of institutions such as Boston and others have also sought international accreditations so that we are able to benchmark against sort of best of breed on an international level. And then, of course, there's also professional accreditations, where a number of institutions have also sought to get industry-based accreditation, such as, for example, from the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants for those who want to offer accounting degrees, etc. So you can see there are many levels of checks and balances which an organization has to comply with. And of course, this adds to the credibility of the industry as a whole. Now, in the current situation, what happened with Educor is the minister felt that they weren't compliant in certain aspects of these, and so, of course, he deregistered them.
Which I understand, because there's quite a number of areas where it could be raising flags of concern to ensure that the standard is carried through all the way to the end. Now, Ari, one of the areas that I think for a lot of the students who are in these particular Educor entities is worried about is the implication that it has on them and their qualification, the recognition of their qualification. And I think there's two groups of people. Let's maybe start with the first group, which is those that are currently busy and working through their degree, and this is occurring during their second or third year that they may be into their studies. What happens with them? What options do they have, possibly even with transferring the credits or continuing their education somewhere else?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Kosi, and actually let's try and focus on that, because that would give meaningful input to the students. So I think, first of all, let's put at ease the mind of those students who already graduated and who have obtained qualifications from the aforementioned institutions. So first up, you have to remember that whilst they were studying there, those institutions were in fact accredited. And so therefore, those qualifications and their credits would be uploaded onto the National Learner Records database, and there's nothing to worry about, and those qualifications would be recognized. In terms of students who are currently studying, which you were mentioning, whether they mean first year or second year, etc., so South Africa's got a very progressive system whereby students are able to migrate from one institution to another through what we call an credit accumulation transfer process, or through recognition of prior learning. And the minister, in his announcement, did actually refer to both of those processes. Now, what is important for the student is for the student to gather as much evidence as they possibly can to prove the credits that they've already achieved. And that's going to be critical, because when they pitch to another institution to present their credentials, they're going to have to prove the authenticity of those credentials that they believe that they've already achieved, those credits. And so that's going to be very important. Another thing for them to recognize is that they're going to only be able to transfer to an institution which has a similar qualification or the same qualification, and where the curricula articulate from the one to the other. But from a proactive point of view, from a student point of view, first up, I would find out if the institution that you're at has, in fact, a teach-out plan for yourself, because you might have already paid your fees for this year and not sure what to do about that, number one. And then number two, to try to start gathering as much evidence as possible, as I said, to prove the veracity of and the authenticity of the credits that you've already accumulated.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of parents right now, what you've just said is giving them a lot of hope, because I think for a lot of students and parents alike, it's just a discouragement of feeling as if all that they've done and being close to graduation can just all be gone to now with the deregistration of those particular EduCore entities. But I think it's really encouraging that they have the space to be able to approach other institutions like a Boston City campus to be able to continue their particular qualification. Ari, always a great pleasure to be chatting to you.
You know, the one word of encouragement that I would give students is that the industry is very much an embracing industry across the board generally. And we do have the South African Private Higher Education Institute, where members who are credible are actually members of that of SAPI, and maybe it's worthwhile for students to actually go on to both the Department of Higher Education's register to see which institutions are in fact accredited, what their status is, what qualifications are accredited, what the mode of learning is it distance, is it contact, etc., as well as to look at maybe the SAPI website as well. So that's number one. But number two, it is an embracing industry, and I have no doubt that all institutions, whether it be Boston or any other, will be very embracing in terms of the advice and encouragement and support that they give to students in understanding the whole credit accumulation process, and to facilitate that story.
Yeah, and I'm sure all those facilities,
encourage students to continue.
All those institutions have seen this unfold, and I'm sure they'll be glad to assist them. Ari, thank you so much for your time this morning. Ari Katz, CEO of Boston City Campus, really unpacking for us this process. And it's evident that the deregistration of these educational institutions poses significant challenges for students, employees, and parents alike. But you can see that this institution and this family group of education facilities are keen to be able to assist those who need support when needed. If you've already received your qualification, the validity of that qualification remains and is not in danger. But if you are currently with your studies, it is highly recommended and advised that you consider moving to another institution that has similar or the same qualification that you may be applying for, to ensure that you continue with your studies. Stay with us. Your news is coming next.